Well, there are so many LGBT focused days, campaigns and flags during the year that it may be easier to mark the days when it's not being showcased. But following on quickly from Pink Shirt Day is the next one being targeted at children for a whole week. Maybe it's time to take your children on a field trip for that week. Let's check it out. So for those who are still not bowing at the cultural altar, there is now coming up Schools Pride Week, Aotearoa for New Zealand schools. It's being held in a couple of weeks, 17th to 21st of June, and it's overseen by the radical and government-funded charity Inside Out, but promoted by the Ministry of Education. And Pride is a political movement. It's been marketed as a demonstration of inclusion and diversity, but it's got nothing to do with inclusion and tolerance. It actually reeks of intolerance and exclusion. It's become the main method used by the aggressive lobbying groups and cultural evangelists who are targeting schools and children with radical and extreme sexuality and gender ideology in the name of LGBTQIA+++. While many adults in society now choose to attend Pride events, I don't think children should be exposed to such political and moral indoctrination by their schools. So be prepared for Pride Week by finding out in advance what activities your children will be given. Now, as in previous years, Inside Out will be providing schools with worksheets, lesson plans, activity ideas, library books, flags. So keep an eye on their website and be prepared to withdraw your children from any lessons or activities of concern to you. But it's also important to note that Inside Out and Rainbow Youth are heavily funded by the government, and the resources are endorsed by the Ministry of Education. So here's the promo for the Pride Week this year.
Amazing organisation. I've seen firsthand the positive impact that a feeling of belonging can have for our rangatahi.
Bullying is one of the biggest issues facing our rainbow rangatahi in Aotearoa. Schools Pride Week Aotearoa is a way to make them feel seen and celebrated.
Okay. Although the Instagram page looks slightly darker, as you can see. Now, here's what your kids are being indoctrinated with. A section on terminology for high school. And check out those terms. Endosex, a term describing a person who has sex characteristics, genitals, gonads, that would have them classified as male or female at birth. A person who does not have variations of sex characteristics. Who knew? Interphobia, discrimination against intersex people, or those with variations in sex characteristics. And it talks about body hair or chest hair. Body hair. I can totally relate to that one. And then it also has these terms: sex assigned at birth, SAAB, or sex designated at birth, STAB. A phrase used to recognise a person's sex assigned or designated based on their external anatomy at birth. Apparently they're different with different labels. And then we have cisnormativity, a framework of understanding gender that they must have fallen asleep at that particular point. Demi-boy, a person who's partially but not fully a tane boy man. And demi-girl, a person who is partially but not fully a wahine girl woman. Although, interestingly enough, they don't define what is a woman. And biphobia, discrimination against bisexual people or bisexuality. This may include negative stereotyping or denying the existence of bisexual people. Biphobia can be perpetuated by people who identify either within or outside of rainbow communities. Bisexual, commonly understood to mean attracted to men and women. A more accurate and inclusive definition is a person who is sexually attracted to people of more than one gender or their own and other genders. Bisexual people can have differing levels of attraction for different genders. And demisexual, a term describing someone who does not experience sexual or physical attraction to another person until they have formed an emotional or romantic connection with that person. Wow. So that's for high schools. But let's look at primary schools and the resources recommended to teachers, which I think where it gets really disturbing, some activities for primary age. Remember, primary age. Make a pride theme mural somewhere in your school. Make age appropriate rainbow themed crafts together as a class. Pick a rainbow book title. Have a rainbow themed shared lunch or morning tea with rainbow fruit kebabs. How lovely. And then there's terms here. Raise awareness about, this is intermediate. Raise awareness about LGBTQIA plus issues in your school. Mufti Pride Day, and donate to Inside Out and another rainbow organisation. Didn't they already fundraise on Pink Shirt Day? And they talk about Out on the Shelves rainbow reading campaign, which I'll come back to. Different pride flags and hide them throughout your school. Well, gee, there's quite a gaggle of pride flags. It's growing by the day, so it would probably take a few years to find them all in the school grounds. It also talks about QSA, the Queer Straight Alliance. Yep, apparently all the intermediate age kids determine which team they're in, queer or straight, and then they form an alliance, sort of like a Rotary Club or a Lions Club maybe. Rainbow movie screening, bake sale, and donate the proceeds to Inside Out or another rainbow organisation. Best flag design or pride-themed artwork, not more flags. And now they also refer schools through to sparklers. I hadn't actually heard of sparklers, but it was developed in response to the impacts of the Canterbury earthquake on kids. And it has expanded throughout New Zealand, and it was featured on 7 Sharp.
It might look like anarchy, but this is the energy roller coaster, controlled chaos. And today, these Rickerton primary tamariki are teaching a strange big kid. How old do you think I am? 20. Yay! About sparklers.
Sparklers is things that helps you to calm down your brain and body. When you feel frustrated.
Because like a roller coaster, our energy and our emotions run high.
And number 4,
getting a bit more energy.
Okay, so much of it is excellent, but activists like Inside Out have grabbed hold of it very subtly, and this is why parents need to be awake. On the page that has an interactive game called Common Ground, it has this. And remember, it's for primary kids. It says, you could also ask, what is gender? Can they think of any celebrities who encourage us to be kind to others and to be who we really are? Lady Gaga, Pink, Taylor Swift, Tay-Tay, Harry Styles. This is Harry Styles, by the way, just in case you don't know who Harry Styles is. And then there's more questions, and the subtle one at the end underlined. You think everyone is either a boy or a girl. And then, in the circle, depending on your tamariki, you may want to broaden their understanding of gender minority identities. For example, lots of people think everyone is either a boy or girl, but actually some wonderful people are born between boy and girl. Just under 2% of people are intersex, which is actually a made-up statistic. Some boys realise, actually I'm a girl, and some girls realise, actually I'm a boy. Transgender, and some are in the middle, non-binary. There's no pressure to cover all of LGBTQIA plus in one go, but if your school community does include students who identify as trans, some positive strength-based korero can be a good way to broaden tamariki understanding and acceptance. Remember, this is primary school. And then Sparklers has this sheet, which should leave you in no doubt of where they're heading. A reminder that sexuality and gender are two different things. As the saying goes, never assume if your 4-year-old girl says I'm a boy, or your 14-year-old tells you I'm a lesbian. Take a deep breath, try to put your judgments and worries to one side. Actually, I just noticed that paragraph up the top right. Generally, a person's sexuality emerges around puberty, whereas their gender emerges around 3 years of age. 3 years of age. Yeah, unfortunately, Sparklers has definitely gone down woke avenue and is dangerous for children. So check if your school uses it. Now, there's also Pride Week Out on the Shelves, which is where they recommend library books.
Inside Out is launching an online resource collecting books and literature by rainbow authors featuring rainbow stories. My school never had a diversity group or a QSA, but it did have a library.
It's important to have rainbow stories because then we see ourselves represented and it's sort of normalised.
We all deserve to see ourselves represented in stories.
I think seeing yourself in...
Yeah, okay. So then they have books by genre, and it's the usual categories. But then they have it by identity. Aromantic, asexual, bisexual, gay, interqueer. Wow, there's a whole list there, isn't there? There's one about faith as well. I might come back to that one. But remember, this is for children as young as 5, primary school. So let's check the picture books. And so these ones are very attractive for young children. We've got Grandad's Camper, Grandad's stories of his travels and adventures with his husband, Gramps. Things in the Sea Are Touching Me, when a small child goes to the seaside with her mum and ma. And Uncle Bobby's Wedding. Uncle Bobby is going to be getting married to his boyfriend, Jamie. And then there's I'm Not a Girl. Nobody seems to understand that Hannah is not a girl. A stroke of courage might be just what Hannah needs to finally show the world who he really is. Remember, this is picture books for primary age. My Shadow is Purple. This story considers gender beyond binary in a vibrant spectrum of colour. Yeah, primary age. Now, believe it or not, it does get worse with the written books for primary age. This is Our Rainbow, 16 stories of her, him, them and us, the first LGBTQA plus anthology. And one of the stories is about a tween girl navigating a crush on her friend's mum. The Everyday Body book. And when babies are born, one of the first questions people ask is whether the baby is a boy or a girl. They are asking, actually, about the biological sex of the baby. Biological sex is assigned or labelled when babies are born based on the visible parts that they have. And then Alice Austin lived here. Sam is very in touch with their own queer identity. They're non-binary, and their best friend, TJ, is non-binary as well. Sam's family is very cool with it, as long as Sam remembers that non-binary kids are also required to clean their rooms, do their homework, and try not to antagonise their teachers too much. Okay, that's enough of that. That is certainly not age appropriate. Remember, all those books, all those picture books, primary school aged. But that applies to most of the stuff coming out of Inside Out. It's not age appropriate. But we've got to check the rainbow and faith section, don't we? Given the theological prowess of the church of Inside Out. A Church for All celebrates a Sunday morning at an inclusive church that embraces all people regardless of age, class, race, gender, identity and sexual orientation. Well, churches do welcome everybody, but not the way that they're thinking. This one, the God Box. Oh, actually, I did just notice, ironically, that the rainbow flags aren't the pride ones in the picture. I think they miscounted the number of colours, which is kind of interesting. The God Box. Manuel is the first openly gay teen Paul has ever met, and yet he says he's also a committed Christian. Talking to Manuel makes Paul reconsider thoughts he has kept hidden, and listening to Manuel's interpretation of biblical passages on homosexuality causes Paul to reevaluate everything he believed. A thought-provoking exploration of what it means to be both religious and gay. We've got The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School. Yep, so no more. And this one, Music from Another World. Change the Rules, Not Yourself a Closeted Lesbian. Strict Christian High School, San Francisco. Anti-gay fervour in America reaches a frightening new pitch, apparently. But actually, what did surprise me is how many books are based on the Muslim faith, including Unicorn, the memoir of a Muslim drag queen, and another book about a 17-year-old trying her hardest to live up to her conservative Muslim parents' expectations. So, to our Muslim families watching, they're after your children also. And there's about 5 books around the Muslim faith recommended. Now, you might think that Inside Out are only obsessed with gender and sexuality. Well, they are obsessed, but actually they're thinking about other stuff as well. Free Palestine, stop the genocide. I think Chloe may have written that one. And this one, we are dismayed by the cynical weaponization of the queer liberation struggle by the Israeli state and its supporters to undermine solidarity with the people of Palestine as rainbow people resisting a global genocidal movement against our transgender whānau. We refuse to be complicit in the pinkwashing of the genocide in Gaza. And then they get stuck into the government. The 54th Parliament of the settler colony of New Zealand has officially opened, and down the bottom, the promises in the coalition agreement reflect the violent, ongoing presence of colonisation in Aotearoa. Lots of critical theory going on at Rainbow Youth. We will continue to fight for a Te Tiriti-led Aotearoa, and they condemn everything they can find, including the rolling back of the darling RSE curriculum, but basically they condemn all reactionary policies in the coalition agreement. You'll see there, we must fight. Does the current government know about this? Does Chris Luxon and Erica Stanford, the Minister of Education, know about these views by a group they heavily fund to indoctrinate our kids? Does Winston Peters and David Seymour know about these views? I mean, this is a charity that is clearly out of its lane. But of course, the Charities Registration Board won't care, because at least they're not talking about traditional marriage and the importance of mums and dads. No way. They're safe. Now, just finally, this is not just an Inside Out event, this Pride Week coming up. It's being pushed very strongly by the Ministry of Education. Here's last week's promotion and the Education Gazette promoting it. And as part of their promotion, they say, why is celebrating Schools Pride Week Aotearoa important? Up to 20% of learners in Aotearoa identify as members of the rainbow community. 20%? 20% of children at our schools are LGBTQIA+++. The Youth 2000 series, which surveys up to 9,000 secondary school students each time, in their last report, 2019 survey, they said it was 10.4 that identified as takatapui and or rainbow. But here's the key. This is only secondary age. The number in primary schools would be minimal, and therefore the 20% figure made up by the Ministry of Education would be way tinier when related to all learners in Aotearoa. The 10% that I gave you only is about high school, and that's kids who are still figuring out themselves anyway in that category. So to say 20% over all learners, the Ministry of Education are trying to suck you in. They're trying to fool you, and they're making stuff up to push a narrative. This is the Ministry of Education. So this year, they're also promoting it. This is their website. And they say, how can your school get involved? Organise Schools Pride Week activities in your school. Participate in the Out on the Shelves campaign month. Yeah, with all those dodgy books that I just showed you. And they also push a couple of books themselves, which are in the school journals, which go to schools, including this one, Best Wedding Ever, which is in school journals. So this is for primary age. Levi's dads are getting married, but he has other things on his mind. And this one, Breakup Day, for level 4, by transgender author Kyle Mewburn, which chronicles his discovery in year 8 that nobody realised he was actually a girl and was in the wrong body, a girl in a boy-shaped box. So, parents, what can you do? Well, the first thing to do is to read our parent guide at parentguide.nz. It's got key information. What are your legal rights? What is the relevant law that you should understand and quote when corresponding with your children's school? Contact your school and see whether they're observing Schools Pride Week Aotearoa 2024. Many schools won't be because they're rightly more focused on teaching and educating and focusing on all students rather than their sexuality and gender identity. In fact, last year, 88% of schools had nothing to do with it. But check on your school for this year. If they're observing it, find out how they're observing it, and is it optional? Will there be pressure on students to participate in activities specifically related to it? Will groups like Rainbow Youth or Inside Out be in the school during the week? If you have any concerns, keep your kids at home for the week. Your role is so crucial, and I would suggest, sadly, that no longer can you trust the Ministry of Education. When you combine their support of Inside Out and the content in that with support for Pride Week and Pink Shirt Day, it's fair to say that the Ministry of Education is hostile towards your children's welfare. Some people would almost accuse them of a level of grooming. Hoping for the best is no longer an option. Let's not leave the door open for our children to be taught about sexuality and gender theory by the voices of people whose agendas and values don't align with ours. There is no pride in sexualising our children.